You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, a young man from Miami fulfills his dreams of becoming a published author. Samantha Walker shares his story.
Also, we have an update on the duck boat tragedy that killed 17 people at Table Rock Lake in 2018.
And it's going to be another hot and muggy day across the area, maybe an isolated shower or two. We'll take a look at that forecast, get you out the door, coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner, just after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Happy Wednesday, halfway through the work week. We are working for the weekend, and it's a long weekend for many folks.
Yes.
Not quite everybody, and believe me, we know that.
Yes.
Okay, the news doesn't stop. We know it's not a long weekend for everyone, but hopefully you're going to be able to get out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And maybe when we start to see this rain, it's always a good idea. Curl up on the couch, good book. You can get a good book from a local author.
Yes, you can. Well, in a story of perseverance, a young man in Miami, Oklahoma with Asperger's syndrome is not letting his diagnosis hold him back.
He's become a published author after years of hard work. KOAM Samantha Walker sat down with him to learn about what pushed him to follow his passion.
I'm using my diagnosis to see the world differently than what most people would see.
Maverick Manning says he's enjoyed writing for years. When he was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, his family was told that he would likely struggle with reading comprehension. But that hasn't stopped Maverick from writing. In fact, he believes his diagnosis makes him better.
So in my take on the Asperger's, that it doesn't make you stupid. It makes you smarter than other people because you see the world different.
Maverick published his first book this year, titled The Rabbit's Creed Death Warrant. He worked hard on writing the book for 8 years, never giving up on his dreams of being an author, and he's excited to share it with others.
It feels like I'm cooking for someone, and everybody who buys this book and they enjoy it, like it's a meal.
His perseverance is something he learned from his mother, Maverick's biggest supporter.
He wants to be a writer. He could be a writer. Like I said, I always told him, don't put limitations on yourself. You could do whatever you achieve or want to achieve if you put your will and your passion behind it.
Maverick says he appreciates all the support he has received from others, especially his family.
It's like having an army on your back when you go to war.
He's not stopping after just one book. Maverick is already writing his next work, and he says he can see himself writing for years to come.
I can see myself work all the way up till I'm old and wrinkly.
Reporting in Miami, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
We can learn where to find Manning's book on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
And of course, very important, you're supporting a local author. You're supporting this young man. A fantastic story, I'm sure. I obviously have not had an opportunity to read the book. I'm just finding out. But still, you want to make sure you take time to check it out. And like I said, with the rain this weekend, probably a good opportunity to do that. Or even with the heat today, stay inside. You don't want to, turn on the fireplace or anything, but curl up by the AC and read this book. It's going to be another hot one for us out there. A quick look outside from our camera on the Cornell Complex in downtown Joplin. As you can see, we've got clouds. Now, this is from thunderstorm activity. It's well off to our northeast. It's north of I-44, closer to the Rolla area and south of Columbia. We've got the Skywatch Storm Tracker over here, and I'm motioning as though it's right behind me. It's not. But if it was, here's Rolla, here's Columbia, here's the rain. All right, so that's where those clouds are coming from. Another look at those clouds from our camera at 7th and Range Line in Joplin. It is now, as the sun's getting a little higher, leading some pretty nice shots out there this morning. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, also looking pretty good. It was a little busier at 5 o'clock this morning than it is right now, but of course, traffic will certainly pick up. On the future track, the further west you are, the clearer your skies are likely to be. So we're looking at mostly clear to partly cloudy skies as we go through today, and we'll see a few more of those roll in out west. And then by late afternoon, early evening, an isolated pop-up shower storm will be possible out there, but most of us will remain dry for today. Average low about 68, 69. we're not doing too bad right now. 71 in Joplin, 70 in Pittsburgh. So yeah, it's above normal, but not excessively so. And we mentioned this earlier yesterday. Yates Center, Iola, Chanute, all in the upper 70s, pretty close to 80 degrees about 24 hours ago. Considerably better this morning. In fact, Iola, Yates Center both fell back into the upper 60s about an hour ago. We still have some upper 60s out there, some gradual warming taking place as we're into the low 70s. Heading through today, again, partly cloudy skies. Between 2 and 7 is the window for those isolated showers and storms, but bear in mind, most of us won't see anything. Highs mid-90s, no heat advisories, which is great, but still muggy. Heat index values approaching 100 degrees. It's going to be a copy and paste kind of day for our Thursday, but then Thursday night that cold front gets here. Big changes on the way, some really good changes too. Details on that in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Interstate 44 has fully reopened to traffic after a fatal crash forced a shutdown. Westbound traffic was backed up for miles after a semi-truck hit the post of an overhead sign at the Range Line exit just before 7 yesterday morning. Now, the post was bent and the sign was left leaning over the road. Westbound travelers had to use alternate routes while a crew removed the sign and cleaned up debris.
This was a complicated accident just because we had a large sign that was partially down, that was a hazard for the rescuers and first responders that we had to deal with. There was just a lot of different things, the traffic that we were trying to control.
No word yet on the identity of the person killed in the crash. Missouri Planned Parenthoods are fighting back against a new law to kick them off the federal Medicaid health insurance program. The organization filed legal challenges to the law with the Missouri Administrative Hearing Commission. Now, the law bans Medicaid funding from going to Planned Parenthood, which could reimburse them for services to low-income patients such as pap smears and cancer screenings. Arkansas has also a law banning Medicaid funding for the organization. Well, and a legal fight connected to the deadly Branson ride, the Ducks boat accident, will continue, at least for now. Captain Kenneth Scott McKee and 2 supervisors, Curtis Lanham and Charles Batzel, are facing 63 criminal charges. There's been several back and forth challenges in the case since the tragedy on Table Rock Lake in 2018 that drowned 17 people. Yesterday, a hearing was scheduled for October 11th to discuss the defense's motion to dismiss. The attorney is arguing the state attorney general has, quote, exceeded its authority to prosecute. If that motion is dismissed, a preliminary hearing will happen in March of next year. Well, the Missouri governor and first lady yesterday hosted a celebration with the one and only Dolly Parton. Now, the event marked the statewide expansion of Parton's Imagination Library. The Entertainers Project, which provides families with 5 books each month from the time a child is born until they reach the age of 5. Governor Parson and his wife attended the event to show their support for the program. Missouri became the 14th state to commit to a statewide program just after Kansas, which signed on last year. And those are our top news stories in this half hour. Coming up next, it's Wildcat Wednesday. Hear how board games can help children bond with others in all areas of their lives. And later, a golfing brother and sister take hitting a hole-in-one to a whole new level. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look of the city square in Girard, Kansas. Well, did you know a great way to bond with kids is through board games? We have Michelle Broxterman from the Kansas State Research and Extension Office with us this morning to talk about a new program that helps strengthen family relationships and also school relationships as well. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So talk to me a little bit about this program and how board games can benefit children.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So Bonding Through Board Games is an evidence-based program that we use. We can use it to strengthen family relationships, and then we can also use it to teach kids interpersonal skills that can help them to be successful at school and at home, and then eventually in the workplace. And so what we do is we teach kids or we teach families about these things, and then we just give them a chance to practice it while playing board games.
Absolutely. And how have you seen this benefit children in their relationships with their friends, their peers, and their family as well?
So just this summer I did this program at a high school, and we talked about mental health and how it's important, especially in interacting with your peers. And we discussed, that it's important to put down the phone and, spend some face-to-face time with someone and enjoy their company. And so then the kids got to practice that. And it's just really fun to see kids kind of light up and enjoy each other's company and laugh and have a fun time together.
Absolutely. Helps you find something in common as well, too, I'm sure, when you're playing those games. Any specific board games are more beneficial or anything like that you found in the study?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we typically choose games that are either Euro style or dexterity games. So Euro style games are less luck based and more based on strategy. A lot of them are quick, they're easy to learn, they don't take a really long time. And then dexterity games are just more interactive and fun, and they involve fine motor skills or some type of skill. Jenga is a really good example of that. Also Chicky Boom that I have here. So.
Absolutely. And then with the program, do you at all encourage kids to maybe get outside of their comfort zone or their social circle and to maybe play games with people that they might not have anything in common with on the surface, and anything like that at all in the study?
So typically what we do when we go into a classroom is we allow the teachers to make the decision about which kids will be playing games together. And so sometimes they choose those kids based on who they're most successful with, but I have had teachers who've kind of mixed up that social group. It's also available for families to practice to strengthen their family relationships. And so we also do this kind of at family nights and that kind of thing, where they can just spend time only with their family to kind of build that relationship.
Right, very exciting and super fun. And if people want more information on this program, where can they do that?
So they can find all my contact information at wildcatdistrict.kstate.edu.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning, Michelle. We'll, of course, have that information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, later on this morning. Stick around. We're back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 7:17 on this Wednesday morning here in the 4 states. We got some clouds out there, and that'll be the case for us today. In the first half of the day, the further west of you are, initially, the clearer your skies will be, and then we'll have those partly to mostly cloudy skies further east, but then we'll all eventually get in on some partly cloudy skies today. And as we head later into the evening and late afternoon, early evening hours, we could see an isolated pop-up shower or storm. Most of us will remain dry, but the window for any of those is going to be roughly between 2 and 7 p.m. But again, most of us will be dry. We'll have mostly clear skies overnight tonight. We head into our Thursday. Thursday's an interesting or slightly interesting turn of events for us. So we have a cold front coming in Thursday night. By the afternoon, it's still off to our north and west, but it's pulling in energy out ahead of it with a good southerly breeze. So what we're looking at is, with the heating of the day, with it being hot and muggy again tomorrow, pop-up showers and thunderstorms will be possible. But we may see a slightly better chance of these occurring because of the extra energy that's being pulled in ahead of the front off to our north and west. Once those begin to kind of fizzle out from the loss of the daytime heating, it will not take long before the front itself makes an entrance into our area overnight Thursday into early Friday morning and sets off its own set of showers and thunderstorms out there. At this point, again, I just want to remind you, we're not looking at anything severe. There's no areas highlighted. There's nothing screaming severe. If that changes in the next 48 hours, we'll let you know. But at this point, not looking at anything strong or severe. We're just looking at thunderstorms with much needed rain out there. Then, as we go through the morning Friday, scattered storms to start the day. Then we might even see a little bit of a pause across the area by late morning, early afternoon. And then we'll see another round of slightly more widespread shower and thunderstorm chances as we head into Friday evening, into the overnight hours, and ultimately into the first half of our Saturday as well. Our heat risk today still up there for most of us, moderate to major. And that will continue into our Thursday. And then once we get behind that cold front, we quickly drop into that minor category across the area, and that sticks with us too from Saturday into Sunday. We'll have that minor heat risk, some of us starting to fall into a little to no risk, and by Monday and Tuesday, virtually the entire area in that little to no heat risk. This cold front, it's not going to freeze us out by any means, but it is going to drop temperatures enough that it's going to feel a little better out there. 71 in Joplin. As I look at those clouds from our camera at 7th and Range Line. Around the area, we're right around where we should be. We are starting to warm. We had a few more upper 60s out there earlier this morning. Now we're seeing a few more low 70s, but either way, really not a bad start to the day. Partly cloudy skies out there, pretty decent, as I mentioned, to start the day. We'll be in the upper 80s by 11 o'clock. Ahead of those highs again, uncomfortable. Mid-90s, heat index values close to 100. And then again, with the daytime heating between 2 and 7, an opportunity for an isolated shower or storm, with the majority of us again remaining dry. Mostly clear skies through the evening into the overnight hours, falling back into the low 70s. And as we go beyond that, again, another hot, muggy day tomorrow. Mid-90s, heat index values upwards of 100. And then that front comes in. Then we have the storms on Friday, and they could last into the first half of our Saturday. We'll hang out into the low to mid 80s heading into the first half of the Labor Day weekend. And in the second half, we'll dry out a bit, warm up just a little on Sunday. So it's a 50-50 split. Friday, Saturday, rain chances. Sunday, Monday, drying out. And then as we head into the next work week, we're warm, but we are technically below average as we go into the mid-80s with some additional shower and storm chances toward the end of next week. That is a check of your forecast. We'll be back with more right after this. It's the goal of every golfer, a hole in one.
Scott Seville met up with a brother and sister that took hitting aces to a whole new level.
It all started with Morgan Burhans, who was playing for Prairie in the MVC divisional meet with her tee shot on the par 3 11th hole from 111 yards out. Uphill at Airport National with her brother Luke filming the shot.
Heard them yelling, my family and my teammates' family yelling and screaming, and I was like, did I just get it close to the hole or did it actually go in? And I guess it actually went in because it would have been pretty embarrassing if I was crying and it was just a tap in.
I saw a ball that was going to fly past the hole, and somehow it got lucky and went in the hole, and it was very helpful because it would have been a tough chip from atop the hill. So
Luke, who is a junior on the Prairie golf team, faced a lot of pressure to get an ace of his own.
Like coaches and stuff that are her coaches too would tell me that she's better than me just because she has a hole in one. It was irritating going in and people telling me she was better than me.
So last weekend, Luke hit his tee shot on the par 3 140-yard 9th hole at Airport National with his buddy filming on the other end, and it lands above the hole. And check out the backspin right for the hole.
One of my buddies always tells me to club up on that hole so you can land it on the ridge and spin back. So I always hit the 9-iron and had a 140, and it hit the top of the hill, spun back, and I didn't see it go in, but when it went in, everyone was freaking out, and so I just went on a dead sprint, like, what's going on, and found out the ball was in the hole.
In case you can't tell, Luke and Morgan are very competitive. So who will hit the next hole in one?
Me.
Not a chance. First of all, the one you hit was thin, and it was a lucky shot, and you don't golf enough, so that'll be me.
I do golf enough, and it was a good shot.
Certainly impressive. Now,
yeah.
I can't play golf worth a darn. I enjoy it,
Right.
but I don't play very well. But those two play excellently.
Absolutely. Pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, we'll have tips on how you can keep your family safe from mosquitoes and the West Nile virus.
And we've got another hot and muggy day out there. We'll have another look at your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:28. I'm Elise Noe. Well, there's a new facility in Pittsburgh aiming to treat addiction. The Crawford County Mental Health Center celebrated the opening of the new addiction treatment center with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Now, the new center will have 24-hour bed space for addiction, social detox, and crisis stabilization. It'll also provide continuity of care for individuals to remain under the care of the same clinicians.
The thing that's exciting about this building is the crisis stabilization unit is attached, and so anybody who comes in who may need detox services, who may need psychiatric services, people on the inpatient unit that may need psychiatric services for while receiving addiction treatment, they're able to do that all together. Like for
Well, that new center is located at the Richard H. Pfeiffer Recovery Complex. And it's never too early to start learning, especially about the planet. Preschoolers from Carthage learned some lessons about nature at the George Washington Carver National Monument. Now, the monument partnered with Carthage parents and teachers to educate young students on George Washington Carver's curiosity through crafts and story time activities.
We want them to know that national parks are places for them that were created and established so all people can enjoy them. And whether you are 3 or 93, these are amazing places to visit. So they'll get an inside look at one of the parks right in their backyard.
After the program, students and their families were encouraged to explore the monument's interactive exhibits. Well, the KOAM flag swap is today and will be set up at Wesco Home Furnishings in Pittsburgh on 2601 South Broadway from noon to 1:30. You can stop by with your old American flag and swap it for a brand new American-made one. Old flags will be retired according to the U.S. Flag Code. Now be sure and show up early as the number of flags is limited. Now let's check in with Chris for a look at the forecast.
There this morning, kind of blocking some of that sunrise, and that's due to some thunderstorms well off to our north and east, but we got plenty of cloud cover coming off of that. There's another view of it from our camera at 7th and Range Line. It looks pretty cool though, you know, with the lighting and the sun rising out there. MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, getting a little more sunlight out there at the surface level now. Of course, sun going higher. We're going to be that way, and these are the first part of the day. The further west you are, you're going to be a little more clear, and the further east, partly to mostly cloudy skies. But as we go through the day, we'll all get in on partly cloudy skies, hot, muggy, uncomfortable, and another awesome round. I don't know where awesome came from. Another isolated round of pop-up showers and storms will be possible heading into the late afternoon, early evening. I was told earlier I shouldn't talk anymore this morning. I'm starting to think that maybe I should stop. 71 in Joplin right now, 70 in Pittsburgh. And as we look at temperatures around the region, we are relatively close to average, but we are starting to warm up. Got some upper 60s out there and some low 70s. And we should be in the upper 60s for our average lows. So most of us right at or just a tiny pinch above where we should be. Now with those pop-up storms, the window for them will be roughly 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. But again, they'll be very isolated. Most of us will remain dry. Temperatures today right around the mid-90s once again. Heat index values, while there's no heat advisories, they could still reach about 100 degrees. This pattern is going to copy into our Thursday, and then that cold front comes in late tomorrow night, and that's going to bring us some big changes, some much better temperatures, and some much-needed rain chances. We'll go over those details for you in the full forecast, and that's coming up in a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, our summer heat and humidity isn't slowing mosquitoes from buzzing across the Ozarks. That has resulted in area hospitals seeing some cases of the West Nile virus. Nick Kelly spoke with experts on how it impacts you and how to keep yourself protected.
Our summer weather this year has allowed the mosquitoes to stick around and remain a nuisance. And doctors at Mercy and around the region are seeing patients with mosquito bites and West Nile virus.
We see few West Nile virus cases throughout every year throughout the summer, anywhere between 5, 10, 15 max cases every year that need to be hospitalized. And
doctors notify Greene County Health of any West Nile cases they come across. Like with other trackable diseases, they investigate the cause and the area where it happened. They then update local leaders and healthcare partners about what they found.
If we're all on the same page, we all understand what's going on in the community, hopefully we can all work together to help either provide education, health care, make sure that we can slow the spread.
While not a big problem in the Ozarks, it's worth watching for symptoms of West Nile. Mild symptoms range from a fever to headaches, body aches, joint pain, vomiting, and rash. More severe cases could lead to neuroinvasive diseases causing brain or spinal cord inflammation. Spinal cord inflammation can lead to paralysis, which is what local broadcaster Art Haynes had to deal with when he got the virus 2 years ago. Dr. Hamid stresses that while severe cases are rare, certain risk factors can put people at risk.
Older age, above 65, is the population that's almost exclusively gets this neuroinvasive disease. The second population is anybody with poor immune system. If you're taking medicine, cancer treatment, or if you have an organ transplant.
While treatments are available for the more severe cases of West Nile, doctors and experts alike say prevention works best to help keep mosquitoes away.
using personal insecticides like DEET or picaridin or permethrin, just to make sure that they don't get to you at all. Wearing long sleeves and pants if you're going to be outside.
It also helps to spray your property for mosquito control and eliminate standing water. That should keep mosquitoes in West Nile away before the cooler months ahead can calm the insects down. Now to look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A South Dakota man receives recognition for his role in World War II. We'll hear his thoughts on the award as well as more on the role he played. We'll be right back, but before we head to break, here's a live look of the city square in Girard, Kansas. And Consumer Watch this morning. American consumers felt more confident in August as their outlook for the future improved. Now, the Conference Board, a business research group, says its consumer confidence index rose to 103.3 in August, topping economists' expectations. The index measures both Americans' assessment of current economic conditions and their outlook for the next 6 months. Well, home prices hit a new record in June. The 20-city house price index rose 0.4% in June compared to the previous month, according to the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index. Now, year over year, home prices in the 20 major U.S. metro markets were up 6.5%. Home prices grew the fastest in New York, followed by San Diego and Las Vegas. The slowest growth was found in Portland, Oregon. IKEA is testing out a way for people to buy and sell its used furniture to each other. The retailer is launching a secondhand online marketplace called IKEA Pre-Owned. The online platform is only available in Madrid, Spain and Oslo, Norway. The seller has the option to receive payment via a bank transfer or an IKEA gift card. Buyers and sellers will have to set up a time and place to make the exchange. IKEA says it hopes to launch the online platform globally. Well, as summer winds down, millions of Americans are heading out for one more vacation, and TSA is expecting this Labor Day holiday to break records. Fox's Chris Foster has more.
It's expected to be the busiest Labor Day travel weekend on record. Millions of folks hitting the rails, roads, and skies for one last summer vacation. According to AAA, most Americans will be staying in the U.S., with domestic travel up 9% from last year. Seattle tops the list for most popular destinations, followed by Orlando, Anchorage, New York City, and Boston.
The cost to travel internationally over Labor Day is up 11%, and that means that overall bookings are down a little bit because it's a little bit more expensive.
At the airport, TSA is preparing to screen more than 17 million people between Thursday and next Wednesday. The agency says it expects to meet wait time standards for security screenings, but recommends people take advantage of programs such as TSA PreCheck to save time.
Think of those big, maybe a school trip or something like that. It's very convenient and it gives travelers a lot of peace of mind.
And for the millions of Americans expected to drive, they'll find relief at the pump, with the national gas average floating around $3.50 a gallon in recent weeks compared to $3.81 last Labor Day weekend.
The one thing we watch this time of year is for any potential storm. So a hurricane or a tropical storm that affects the Gulf could affect refineries and could bring gas prices up, but right now we're not seeing that.
Friday is expected to be the peak travel day. TSA is bracing for nearly 3 million people to pass through checkpoints. In New York, Chris Foster, Fox News.
And those are our top consumer stories. Let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 7:43 now on this Wednesday morning, and we are going to talk about some isolated rain today, slightly better chances of rain tomorrow, and even better chances tomorrow night into Friday. So let's start with today. First part of our day, the further west you are, you're initially going to start with fairly clear skies, and the further east you go, thanks to some showers and storms off to our northeast, we're looking at partly to even mostly cloudy skies, which is what we're seeing now. As we go through the day, though, we'll have clouds across the region, partly cloudy skies, and we've got a window of roughly 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. where we could see an isolated shower or storm out there. Most of us will be dry, won't see anything, but a stray shower or two will be possible. It's also going to be hot and muggy. We'll go into tonight, mostly clear skies. Now Thursday is where it gets a little more interesting with the pop-up storm chances because they're going to have a little more energy to play with because we got that cold front off to our northwest, slowly getting close to the area. Ahead of it, we have the south winds. It's bringing in a little more energy than usual. And so because it's going to be hot and muggy, and that's what the pop-up storms kind of feed off of, we could see a few more of them into the afternoon and early evening hours on our Thursday compared to today, for example. So you can see these pop-up showers across the area. There's a few more of them than what we are expected to see today. Now, when we lose the daytime heating, that front still off to our northwest tomorrow evening, so these will eventually begin to fizzle out. Then as we go overnight, here comes that front from the northwest, and we'll have showers and thunderstorms scattered both ahead of it and behind it. Now, some good news is we're not looking at any severe weather at this point still. Nothing's been showing up. If it changes, we'll let you know, but so far we are looking at just some much needed rain and cooler temperatures. So by 5 a.m., the front almost cutting our viewing area right in half, and we'll still have those scattered storms. Then we'll see maybe even a pause in shower and storm activity late morning, early afternoon. Then we have slightly better chances of more organized shower and thunderstorm activity. So the first round in the morning may be a bit scattered. You know, you may have storms in Yates Center and Chanute, but not Fredonia. That's what we're looking at in the first part of the day at this point. But as we go into the evening, we'll have more organized shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, it will still be scattered, but there will be smaller gaps between the storms than what we're going to see Friday morning. And those scattered storms will continue Friday night into the first part of our Saturday before they do eventually begin to clear out. Heat risk today and tomorrow still in that moderate to major, but behind that front Friday, we start to shift into the minor risk category. That continues into Saturday and Sunday, but by Saturday and Sunday too, we're starting to see that heat risk dissipate. And by Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're down to the little to no heat risk. So it's still going to be warm, but we're not worried about the dangerous heat like we are and have been for the last few days. 71 in Joplin right now, east-northeast breeze at 3. We're pointed back north-northwest, but even then, those clouds still getting in out there. Temperatures around the region, again, relatively close to normal. Some upper 60s, low 70s, so all in all, not a bad start to the day. Partly cloudy skies through the morning, and then we'll be pretty toasty by 11 as we go right around 88 degrees, close to 90. Highs today, mid-90s. Heat index values today and tomorrow still could get close to 100 degrees. And we fall back into the mid-80s heading into Labor Day weekend, and we get a 50-50 split there, where the first couple of days of this holiday weekend, we could see some rain. The last couple of days, we're going to dry out a bit, so you get to enjoy some of the holiday weekend. We'll hold on to mid-upper 80s to still below normal heading through the next work week with some additional rain chances by next Thursday and Friday. That is a check of your forecast. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, it's been decades in the making. A World War II veteran living in South Dakota has finally received a medal for his service.
As Parker Brown explains, Carl Sampson had a very dangerous job during the war. He spoke to him about receiving this long overdue honor.
Here, how's that?
When we first introduced you to former Marine Carl Sampson, he was sharing his story at Dubrook High School. Sampson, who volunteered to serve at age 17, is proud of his service to his country and wants to make sure young people learn about what happened.
My main story through the 3 years in the Marine Corps is this amphibious tank.
He's happy to point out a photo of the famous tank, the Bloody Trail, that he didn't know was taken until 20 years after the war.
And I'm up on the tank here fighting for my life.
His tank was found in an old history book he was given. He recently celebrated his 98th birthday on August 13th.
To surprise me, they sent me a model of an amphibious tank.
And he says he's very fortunate to be here. He's the last known survivor of the Battle of Peleliu.
My tank was the only one out of 5 that made it to shore. Peleliu was a real bloody battle, worse than Iwo Jima, really.
surviving long enough to finally receive a medal for being an atomic veteran. He spent time in Nagasaki after the United States dropped an atomic bomb.
Imagine after 3 months I was probably exposed to radiation. I didn't have any symptoms at that time.
Like many men who have served, Sampson is incredibly humble about his service. But all these years after he served, it was a special recognition.
Being out of the service for 80 years, you never think of anything like this coming by. And I was real surprised and honored. But nobody ever heard of atomic veterans till all of a sudden.
It's another token for a man who's living history, a living hero.
Certainly an impressive story. We actually have the Atomic Veterans Memorial Highway near Carl Junction. And that applies to a number of atomic veterans as well. My dad was one of those, but during the 60s, during some nuclear bomb tests. So, but still, thank him for his service.
Absolutely.
And just incredible. About time. That's all we can say on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we still have an opportunity for some isolated showers today. Future Track heading into this afternoon shows us roughly where those pop-up showers and storms could be. Now, the chances today are much lower than what they'll be tomorrow, but as you see, they at least show up briefly. The best window, if we see any at all, is going to be roughly 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. today. As we head into our Thursday, though, thanks to some energy ahead of that cold front, we could see a few more pop-up showers and storms, and maybe even a couple of organized thunderstorms. In fact, if you take a look here in the last few frames of the Future Track, you see a couple of organized storms out there. Then that cold front comes in overnight Thursday into Friday, brings us initially scattered storms through the first half of our Friday. Then we get a little bit of a break, and then we're looking at refiring of more organized thunderstorm activity as we head into Friday evening and into the overnight hours and even into the first half of our Saturday. Still seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms out there. Heat risk today, again, still moderate to major. It will continue tomorrow as we go into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We see that heat risk begin to drop until we're at that little to no risk. But between today and tomorrow, could still see heat index values to 100 degrees. Well, now look at your forecast and the news you need to know right after this.
Well, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Maverick Manning of Miami, Oklahoma is going against the odds to become a published author. Manning was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when he was 5 years old. Despite being told he would likely struggle with reading comprehension, Manning chose to follow his passion for writing. After 8 years, his first book has been published, titled The Rabbit's Creed Death Warrant. Now, the young author says he's already working on his next book. And Pittsburgh has a new facility aimed at treating addiction. The Crawford County Mental Health Center celebrated the opening of the facility with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The new center will have 24-hour bed space for addiction, social detox, and crisis stabilization. It'll also provide continuity of care for individuals to remain under the care of the same clinicians. And the KOM flag swap is today. Will be set up at Wesco Home Furnishings in Pittsburgh on 2601 South Broadway from noon to 1:30. Stop by with your old American flag and swap it for a brand new American-made one. Old flags will be retired according to the U.S. Flag Code, and be sure and show up early as the number of flags is limited.
And it's going to be a hot one if you are out there for the flag swap today. Mid-90s heat index values approaching 100, and maybe an isolated shower or storm between, say, 2 and 7. But again, most of us will be dry. Well, mostly clear skies through the evening and overnight, back into the low 70s. And then we have more pop-up storms, maybe even a couple of organized storms Thursday afternoon. Cold front Thursday night into Friday brings us thunderstorm chances all the way through the first half of our Saturday. And we'll cool back nicely, though, for the rest of the holiday weekend as we go into the mid-80s out there. Hanging on to mid-80s through the next work week with some additional rain chances by next Thursday and Friday.
All righty. Well, a couple of Toledo's finest saves the day for the fox on the run. A fox was spotted just outside of a television station with a jar stuck on its head.
That's when the Toledo police came to the rescue. The four-legged creature proved to be feisty, trying to scurry away from human contact, but officers were eventually able to free the fox's head, allowing it to run free. So they went looking for help, but then didn't necessarily want some of that help. But still, and boy, he took off,
Yeah,
didn't he?
he did.
He was ready
Pretty
to go.
fast.
So certainly a very incredible story.
Yeah.
Animals have a habit. I mean, even your pets get
Yeah.
their heads stuck in things.
They're stuck. So it's important not to litter because there are
Very.
animals that can get stuck.
Very important. Well, thank you all so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.